Hey there, I'm Luke the Cookin Camper along with Zena the Glamper Camper. Now we know we haven't been able to film a lot of new camping videos recently. The camper has been in the shop, but we're still trying to create some content that you guys like to watch. Today we're trying out something new. We're going to try to recreate one of Mr. Cameraman's favorite sauces when we go out to eat. He loves the Chipotle Pesto at Chili's. So I have literally tons of ingredients to try to replicate that, and I have no idea if it's gonna work. The Chipotle chili is really spicy and it's chunky. So I've got some Chipotle chilies, some sun-dried tomatoes, 2 different kinds of parsley, basil, oregano, green onions, cilantro. We've got cotija cheese, queso fresco, parmesan, garlic, and a bunch of other stuff to see if we can create something that's kind of like it. I have no idea where I'm gonna start, so let's just jump into it. Now this sauce is very spicy, and as you can see, it's pretty chunky. Now I looked on the nutrition information on Chili's website, and it says that there's no nuts in it. So it's basically just a red pesto, and really it doesn't even look like there's any herbs, but I'm still gonna try to put some in, just to give it a fresh flavor. First, let's kind of try to start a base. For the red pesto base, we're just gonna try to blend together some Chipotle chilies and adobo sauce. Now these originally did come in a can, I just put them in these containers. And then some sun-dried tomatoes. Now I was very intrigued when I decided I wanted to try to make this pesto, because I did not realize that a Chipotle chili pepper was an actual thing. So my first attempt at this recipe, you can watch right up here, did not turn out anything like the chili sauce, but I found out that a Chipotle chili is a smoked jalapeno pepper, and then they are normally packaged in adobo sauce. So this is about 7 Chipotle chili peppers packed in adobo, or about 104 grams. Now personally, I am not a fan of their flavor. They are extremely intense, so I definitely would not be able to eat them unless they were blended up with some other ingredients. So I'm going to do a half and half mixture of the Chipotle chili peppers and sun-dried tomatoes. Now it is still pretty chunky. Now I do have to admit that just after adding half a cup of extra virgin olive oil, we already have a mixture that's similar in texture and color. So this is the color of the Chipotle chilies processed with olive oil and sun-dried tomatoes. And then this is what we're after. So this is just a little bit more of like a browny orange color. So now the next step I'm gonna take is I'm just gonna chop up all of our herbs and then mix little bits of them with the base to see if we get anything that tastes similar. Now, I don't want all of this to go to waste, so I'm gonna be making very small amounts of this sauce to try to make something that tastes good. Now we've got green onions, basil, oregano, flat leaf parsley, curly parsley, and then cilantro. Now we're just gonna put a little dollop of this next to each one, and we are going to give it a taste. And yes, my hands are clean. Well, so far, oregano is a total no-go. That is not what we're going for. The basil, honestly, the basil is kind of overtaken by the chipotle. Now, the onion, that does kind of get me closer to what we're going for a little bit. Curly parsley kind of doesn't taste like anything. Very subtle flavor. Now, between these three, I'm definitely not really liking this very much. There's not very much flavor in this curly parsley. Now, the flat leaf, on the other hand, does taste pretty good, and then the cilantro is almost spot on. So let me get a little taste of this again. This is giving me like very cilantro, like oniony vibes. So let's try a little bit of the cilantro with the onion. I feel like a little kid playing with my food. I do think that's our winner. I think in the end product, it's gonna be cilantro and then just a little bit of onion, but I'm not really feeling the parsleys, the oregano, or the basil. So now that I know I like these two flavors, I guess we should move on to some cheese. So now what I've done is I've taken 1 tablespoon of our base and put it into 3 different bowls. Now in each one of the bowls I have half a teaspoon of super finely minced cilantro and then 1/4 of a teaspoon of super finely minced green onion. Now with these 3 different bowls, I'm going to try 3 different cheeses to see if we can get anything similar. Now I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there are little white chunks in the Chipotle Pesto from Chili's, so I do think that that is some cheese. So first, the one that I think might be the best already is queso fresco, and then I've got some cotija cheese and some Parmesan cheese. We're gonna measure them out and pop them in. Cotija, Parmesan, and queso fresco. Now let's mix those together. Now right away, I'm noticing that the cheese does look like those little white specks in the sauce from Chili's. So here is the cotija cheese, the Parmesan cheese, and the queso fresco. Now I did half a teaspoon of each cheese. Now from the chili sauce, I am getting kind of a salty, more crumbly texture, which definitely matches the cotija and the queso fresco. And that told me to mix the two together. And that tastes really good so far. So I think that that is a great stopping point for tonight. My taste buds are currently on fire and they definitely need a break. So we will pick this up tomorrow. Well, it's a new day and my taste buds are fully rested and ready to go. Mr. Cameraman tasted what we had the other day and he said that it tasted like salsa, and that is not what I'm going for. So this is what I did to get these 4 bowls of mixture. Now the first thing I went ahead and did was remade the base recipe from yesterday, but I cut it in half. So 52 grams of Chipotle's and adobo sauce and 52 grams of sun-dried tomatoes. Then I went ahead and cut the olive oil in half. And then the first way I wanted to cut down on the salsa-y flavor was by adding a little bit of roasted walnut oil. And then we're gonna double the chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. Then I put in the cilantro and the green onions, and I upped the ratio of herbs just a little bit. Then the second thing I did to get rid of some of that salsa flavor is I added about 1.5 teaspoons of oregano leaves. Now I know I wasn't in love with the flavor yesterday, but I do think that mixed together it could be good. And the third thing I did to reduce the salsa-y flavor is added a couple of spices. 1/2 teaspoon of ancho chili powder and 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. Then I just had to mix in the cotija and the queso fresco. Now, while researching this recipe before I made this video, I found a recipe online on one of my favorite blogs for Chipotle pasta. Now in that, she uses yogurt to make the sauce creamier, so I thought, why not put in something creamy into this pesto to kind of tone down the heat a little bit and just make it more creamy. So I've got a couple things I want to try. We've got Mexican table cream, yogurt, sour cream, and cottage cheese. I'm going to start with 1/2 teaspoon of each and mix them into the 1 tablespoon of our base. Not a fan of this one. And I really like all 3 of these. The Mexican table cream gave it a color very similar to the Chili's Chipotle Pesto. So now in here we've got 2 tablespoons of our base mixture, and we're going to do a combination of these 3 creamy factors. And I think that tastes pretty darn good. Now if we remind ourselves what the Chipotle Pesto from Chili's looks like, I think we have a pretty close match. Mine came out a little bit lighter, and the green flecks are from the herbs I added in. But I do have one thing that might be able to make it a little bit darker. And after tasting both of these, theirs is still a little bit spicier, so I'm just going to add in some ground chipotle chili pepper. Now after mixing in 3/4 teaspoon of chipotle chili powder, it is still not quite spicy enough. And now that I'm tasting it right next to this, the Chipotle Pesto from Chili's has almost like a acidic, like vinegary kind of flavor. So I think I'm gonna give my taste buds a break and try to figure out how to achieve that. The 3rd day of filming, and we are finally on to the acids, and we have 4 different ones to try. We've got rice wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and lime juice. Now here I have the mixture we ended with yesterday. And we're gonna do 1.5 teaspoons of this, and we're gonna start with 1/4 teaspoon of acid. The rice wine vinegar is pretty good. It is a start. The apple cider vinegar tastes pretty similar, other than it has kind of a sweet flavor. I think the lemon juice is too lemony. It might be good in a smaller amount. Now the lime juice is really good too. I really think it's between the lime juice, the apple cider vinegar, and the rice vinegar. And look at that texture. It looks almost identical to what we are trying to recreate. The Chipotle Pesto from Chili's. Now I think to get this flavor, I'm gonna try to put in a little bit more acid. So I've got a little cup here, and I'm gonna do 1.5 teaspoons. I think that that's good. What I'm finding is the Chipotle Pesto from Chili's has like a instant like punch of something acidic, and mine is like more on the back burner, and I think it tastes similar to lemon juice. So far in here we have 2 teaspoons of our base mixture with 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice, 1/4 teaspoon of lime juice, and 1/4 teaspoon of rice wine vinegar. And I think that it is pretty close. We're gonna put it up here next to the lime juice. But I want to just try in this one adding some lime juice. So in total, 2 teaspoons of our mixture, 1/2 teaspoon of lime juice, and 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice. Now I'm having some struggles here. So I'm thinking that maybe if I have just like a neutral item, I've got some naan bread, and I try it with the pestos, then maybe I will get a little bit further in this quest. I think that this one is too citrusy. Let's go back to this one that I got all mixed up. So that was just the rice wine vinegar. Now we're going to try the one that had rice wine vinegar, lime juice, and lemon juice. I think that one is really close. I think we have found the current winner. Now one more question I've had the entire time while making this is if there's any garlic in it. Most pestos have garlic, so we're just going to put a little bit into our mixture that I like right now. We're going to just put in 1/8 teaspoon and see if that even changes the flavor at all. And maybe for some more garlic flavor, some garlic powder, so that we get the flavor without the chunks. So after tasting this one a lot more with the one from Chili's, I realized that I don't really like it. I think that the rice wine vinegar flavor is too strong, and after tasting it some more, I think that the apple cider vinegar would be a better flavor. So I've got our base from yesterday. This was right after we added our creamy components. I've got 4 tablespoons of it, and I am just gonna mix some stuff in and see where we go. So into our base yesterday, we have 4 tablespoons of that. Then we have 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Now I do think that was a little bit too acidic, So what I'm doing is I'm gonna mix in one more batch of the base from that we ended on yesterday, but I'm gonna leave out the additional chipotle chili powder for a moment and see what it tastes like with just this. I think they taste pretty darn similar. Now the only complaint was that it was a little bit too chunky, so I've got it back in the food processor along with 1 tablespoon of Mexican table cream. Now it came out a little bit too acidic, so I put in 1 more tablespoon of roasted walnut oil and then a very small amount of sugar to kind of cut that acidity. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. It was definitely a pretty long one to make, took multiple days. But yeah, I'm really glad that we did it. It was very fun. Definitely check out this recipe, and if you liked it, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. Get out and enjoy nature and food as much as we do. Have a great one.
Ba-da.